Welcome back to the Dota Radio Morning Show, presented by Dota Radio, your internet radio dedicated to Dota 2. Thank you for joining us here on this fine morn, guys. Remember, you can tweet at us live during the show at ZyoriTV, at the Dota Radio, at Monolith Dota, and at HippieCasting. We're here with episode number 20 of the Dota Radio Morning Show. A mild milestone, perhaps, but still episode 20 nonetheless. We got a good one today. We've got DK's translator, Autumn Winds, joining us today, and he's going to give us some insight about what's happening over there in Chinese Dota, G League, and all of that other good stuff. We got an array of awesome questions for him today, but as always, if you have something you'd like to have answered, go ahead and post it in that Reddit thread, which has been linked many a time, and I'll go ahead and do you a solid and link it once more. Also, Twitch chat, always a good avenue for communication, but going to be a good one. He's also the guy that started Dota Land. That is the website that translates news from the Chinese scene into English, so all of us can understand what's going on. And well, it seems to be pretty highly regarded in the English-speaking Dota community, so we'll get a little bit more insight into that. As always, guys, feel free to email in to us, morningshow@dotaradio.com, and visit us on the web, dotaradio.com/morningshow. But alas, guys, we are back with our usual suspects. I'm Zyor, your show host. We've got Hippie actually joining us today on the analysis desk. You're not going to live it down, my friend. Not getting off that easy. Good morning and hello, sir.
I know.
Huh?
Well, I said I know.
I know.
And you're right. People have been through worse.
We've been through worse.
I'm feeling good, man. I'm quite happy to be here. I'm quite happy that nothing went wrong today. So let's do this.
Someone on the MixLR stream just commented, "Go Hippie." So you've got a fan out there. Mr. Admiration. Fist pumping for you, pal.
Thank you, sir.
And we've got Monolith here. He picked up the slack in the last episode in lieu of Hippie. Charlie, what's the good word this fine morn, my friend?
When we talk about Frostivus, I'm just going to mute my mic.
All right. I mean, I'm into it. Well, we'll let Chris pick up the slack today as a little bit of vengeance. So I think that's fair enough. I think that works out quite well. So we've got a pretty good episode here today. Again, guys, on the clock, but we are going to make the best of it. You know, I have to admit, before we get too far into it, I want to talk about this eSports Express site, eSex, if you will. And I discovered it as basically the onion for esports, and I discovered it in the last episode that we did, and I made comment that I thought it was real at first and realized, oh gosh, I'm being trolled. And I've been enjoying this site more and more. Charlie, what do you think about eSports Express? Do you like it? Do you think it's a needed bit of comic relief, or are you a naysayer, as you tend to naysay on fun things such as Diretide and Frostivus? I want your take on eSex.
Well, I like it a lot. It's pretty funny. The first two articles, when it came out with like the top 9 like Dota heroes that would be porn stars or whatever, that was fucking stupid. That was stupid. But everything else has been pretty funny, and I've enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, everything else has been pretty good, pretty spot on. And they've been like churning out content pretty fast. So no, I'm a fan. I'm definitely a fan.
I like Chris. Have you checked it out? You strike me as a type that would enjoy the onion. So I imagine you've been getting.
It's very amusing, and it's certainly better than other onion spin-offs I've seen for other games. Yeah. So hats off to whoever's writing that stuff. Yeah. It's very funny. I will keep reading it. Yeah, got my page views.
I've been continually impressed by. I was actually this morning when I was making my notes, instead of working hard, I was watching the top 9 unforgettable StarCraft Brood War moments, and oh man, there are some good ones in there. Like the one where the guy wins, and they're like having a tournament at the beach, and he just takes all of his clothes off after he wins the tournament and just jumps in the ocean.
Oh yeah, it was Firebat Hero. Dude, it was Firebat Hero. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
do you not know about this?
I've never
oh my
seen
god!
That before. And also, I think I've seen that video of Flash making his entrance into the OSL in front. You know, maybe we could show a clip of it because it's pretty funny here. I was watching it this morning and just cracking up at how epic it is. Like the music is just like they're in it, a fucking airport hangar, and he has an airplane all to himself. Like, look how epic this shit is. This is StarCraft Brood War from like 10 years ago. Still one-upping us. Like, this should be the gold standard for the international. Like, look at this shit. It blew my mind this morning when I was watching it. He comes out, he's gonna come out of the airplane in a second. Like, I don't know. I'm beyond words. This was their #1 moment, so I guess it does mean something, but still, just mind-blowingly epic.
They're really trump everyone when it comes to esports. They just do.
Yeah. They don't mess around, man. That shit really impressed me this morning. That was how I started my Wednesday. But all right, let's get straight into it, guys. Frostivus is our first thing on the docket. We're gonna get it out of the way. Valve having a lot of fun.
See you later, Charlie.
Yeah, see you later, Charlie.
Bye.
We'll see you in 10 minutes, buddy. Valve having a lot of fun with this, and I kind of like it. It's a nice change of pace from what happened with Dire Tide, and this is the latest here. We've got, by decree of the only king that matters, Frostivus is officially canceled. Uh-oh, Frostivus fans out there. Now, I reckon this is a little bit of trolling, but first they announced it, and then they released that patch, and Skeleton King has been removed, which was quite the great patch update, I have to admit. I really like this one right here. Gameplay, Skeleton King removed for pressing ceremonial reasons. Best patch in Dota history, by my account.
I'm going to blow your mind.
Do it, please.
I'm going to blow your mind right now. The only king that matters is Sand King, and Skeleton King went to save Frostivus, and that's why he's gone.
Mind blown. I hope it comes true. Because then, you would really, wow.
I'm a goddamn psychic if that happens.
Yeah. So, definitely having a lot of fun here, though. And I like that Valve is really delving into the community's need for fun and silly games. And I like that they did something a little bit radical. Like, they actually removed Skeleton King from the game. It's not a joke. Go queue up a game, go all pick, and try and pick Skeleton King. You will be much dismayed when you go to select that icon, because he, alas, is not there. And I kind of like it. To me, this is sort of the definition of viral marketing, because just load up Reddit. Look at that front page. This is pretty much all people are talking about. Like, I'm scrolling through all the sites looking for news this morning, and it's just like, Frostivus. Here's my Frostivus theory. Oh man, here's a jokey article about Frostivus. Oh man, more theories here in this thread. Wait, what's going on with Skeleton King? I wanted to play him this morning. Like, that's all everyone is talking about. Mission accomplished by Valve as far as I'm concerned. I mean, fuck the rest of Frostivus. It's already been a success as far as I'm concerned. They've got people talking, and most importantly, they've got them talking positively, not negatively. They're keeping them off of Metacritic and keeping them on the subreddit, which I think is a victory for Valve.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. Keep them thinking about things so they don't have time to go get angry about everything. But I mean, I think it's just their fancy way. In all honesty, it is very, very likely, I think everyone agrees, their fancy way of transferring Skeleton King to Wraith King, because we know they have to do something, because with Heroes of the Storm coming out, it's very likely King Leoric will make his way in sometime, and Valve just doing what they do best and avoiding any sort of legal battle with Blizzard.
Mm-hmm. Poor Skeleton King. I like him being Skeleton King, but I guess he is based off of Blizzard lore. Because... Wait. SK. You said SK. Am I talking about the wrong SK?
I'm talking about Skeleton King.
You're talking about Skeleton King? Okay. The way you said SK, I thought you were talking about Sand King for a moment. Sorry.
No.
I realized this.
It also, it will fix that. It will fix that. We'll now have SK and WK instead of SK and SK.
Ah, there you go. It kind of sucks. I mean, if his name was Leoric, then I could totally see the copyright claim. That is straight out of Blizzard lore. King Leoric, he's in Diablo 1. Okay, Skeleton King, that's pretty ambiguous. He's just the king of the skeletons.
Yes,
that
but
could be anyone.
I mean, we've had a lot of things that are changed, not just because they are specifically, not just because they're specifically copied from Blizzard, but because they were like heavily inspired. Like, you know, there's a reason Brewmaster is a red panda, Storm, Earth, and Fire aren't pandas anymore. Right. So that you don't get, because theoretically you could have a lightning panda. Blizzard doesn't have a copyright on the lightning pandas, right? But they'd probably be able to make a case, even if they wouldn't win it. Valve would be tied up in legal shit, and Blizzard can make your life miserable with legal shit because they have so much freaking money if they really want to. So
Valve does have,
you know, the fact that they've got, you know, the iconic Skeleton King character from Diablo, it's safer to just do it and not have to deal with the legal fees and the court time and not deal with Blizzard.
Right.
Because Blizzard nowadays, ever since the whole Activision takeover, seems more interested in money than making good games. So they probably go for it.
Yeah, I feel you. Fucking Activision. ESET's also having some fun with the cancellation of Frostivus. Valve cancels the cancellation of Frostivus. Dota 2 community outraged. I loved this article. It gave me a good laugh. I loved the fake quote from Valve. Whenever we make a significant mistake, we spend a bunch of time looking at what happened, why it happened, and how we can fix it. Most of the time we do this privately, but in our recent mistake around canceling the Frostivus cancellation, we felt sharing our analysis with you made sense. Expect a blog post today. I loved it. I laughed. I laughed hard.
So I am gonna tell you a secret, and that's that that was actually posted before Frostivus was canceled.
Actually, I think I knew that. I had forgotten, but I knew that.
I was very amused. I was like, well, I know that's coming.
That's even more funny. I like it. Which is correct? More funny or funnier? Or are they both correct? I think one of them's wrong, but I don't know which. Hashtag grammar. Oh, I got a text message.
Should be correct.
Sorry about that.
Stop getting text messages. The only thing you're
no,
allowed
I
to get
ruined the
text
flow of the show. I ruined it.
You broke it.
I ruined it. So, speaking of good Blizzard games, I have been playing a bit of Diablo 2 recently, and it's been fun, Chris. I have to admit, having fun killing all those old... Speaking of King Leoric, I don't think he's in D2, but...
He's not in D2.
He's
in D1 and D3.
I wish he was. So, who knows where they're going to go with Frostivus, though? Frostivus is still... there's still announcements to be made, but I like the idea of doing something a little radical, actually temporarily moving Skeleton King. On a more serious note, I'm glad that Valve has sort of, at least appears to have reevaluated their approach to these kind of fun games. If you just look at how they're handling this versus Dire Tide, who knows if this has been in the works for a while, and the whole Dire Tide drama had little to do with it. But regardless, tip my hat to you, Valve sirs. I've been enjoying it thus far, though... In all honesty, I care little of Frostivus. I will side with Charlie in the fact that I will probably not play Frostivus, as I think I played one Dire Tide, and everybody left as soon as I joined. And I was like, well, that was fun. I got some little essence that I didn't use. I
don't think I'll actually play the game mode, but the stuff they're doing, and they're heavily teasing Legion Commander and theoretically teasing Soulkeeper on that poster, so... Hey, maybe we'll get something fancy to go with Frostivus. Maybe we'll get a new hero. But
Terrorblade?
You did not hear it from me. Oh. Don't even. I am so happy if Terrorblade comes out. I played that dude more than Anti-Mage in Dota, and you have no idea how much I loved everyone based on Illidan Stormraid models.
Yeah, I know. I like that his footprints made little like spots on the ground because his feet were on fire. I always thought that was pretty cool, especially in the snow maps. It's like
it's because he was a demon, man. Melting
the snow. Oh man, I don't even remember what he did. I just remember his ultimate swapped your hit points, which was weird.
They dropped he had Conjure Image, Metamorphosis, Life Drain, and Sunder. They've dropped Life Drain and given him Zeal at this point, which is an attack speed boost.
He's pretty cool. You know, that's actually small world anecdote here. Little Zyori story. That was the first hero I ever saw go like 15-0, just completely take over a game. First hero I ever saw just snowball out of control was Terrorblade. And I thought to myself, wow, that hero must be broken. And then I played him in Fed, and that was the end of it. But seriously, that really was the first hero I ever saw take over a game. Blew my mind. Back in like 2006. Maybe 2007. Who knows? Can't really keep it straight these days. So let's move forward here. We do have some sad news here after these fun Christmas cheers. Charlie, you're welcome to join us back in the conversation here. 4 Friends and Krilly have officially disbanded. And websites all across the globe having fun with changing that. The headline, 4FC has come down to 2FC. Oh, man, that's so clever. I saw Team Liquid do it. I saw somebody else do it. It's not clever. It didn't make me laugh. It was one of those, just like you read that headline and just go, let's try not to make light of their careers going into the toilet. Not that they were going too far. But, Charlie, what?
I don't think their careers are in the toilet.
No, I just thought it was a really cheesy headline, just like, oh, 4 Friends and Krilly down to 2 Friends and Krilly, like really, really great math there. That makes me just. But alas, there was some drama. Blomberg was one of their supports. I guess he lost the motivation to play, and Karki kind of disappeared. So they are down to what is left. We've got Krilly, of course. How could he leave his own team? Strangby and Boomski are the only 3 remaining, and they haven't decided what they're going to do, if they're going to try and reform the team, if they're going to just join another team, if they're all going to go their separate ways. But the real sad part about this story is that they're going to forfeit the rest of their Star Ladder matches. And yesterday, that took my 7-game schedule down to a 5-game schedule. And I don't know, I guess my own selfish reasons. That's the saddest part of it all, that they didn't finish out Star Ladder, because Chris, correct me if I'm wrong here, but in Star Ladder Season 7, wasn't 4FC the team that came in and filled in for the team that disbanded at the beginning, and I'm forgetting what their name was. But weren't they the guys that came in and saved us from having a lack of matches in Star Ladder?
You're wrong.
Huh?
4FC has been a Star Ladder contender for like 3 or 4 seasons.
So who was it that popped in last season? I'm totally wrong.
Let me go look at the Star Ladder 7 on Wikipedia. I'll get back to you in a sec.
All right, great. We'll do some research. But I was bummed. I like the 4FC guys. They've given some fun games. Hurt my soul a little bit. Charlie, do you have an opinion on 4FC?
Yeah, I mean, they've always been around. They've always been, like, available to scrim. I mean, for me, they've kind of been, like, a staple of... Yeah, like, a staple for the scene, you know? Like, that one Swedish team that's always around. They're always looking for scrims, you know? They weren't just around for the international. They're just, like, 4 friends. And Krilly,
they're just,
you know, pun not intended, just like hanging around playing Dota, you know, and it was always great seeing them at DreamHack. They would always win the BYOC, go through the BYOC qualifiers or something, or make it through, and then like it's like a double whammy. DreamHack this year, there's no open bracket, so they didn't get an invite, and now they lose 2 members, and it's just sad to see.
Yeah. And we'll see where they go. I saw somebody on MixLR just commented that rumor has it Skyzo has been playing in EEL and maybe grouping up with some of those guys. A little bit of Han Trash coming in to save the day. Wouldn't be the first time.
Well, I know Zaya's Swedish, and he's a pretty good player.
You never know. Could happen. So, sad times.
To
Chris?
fulfill my obligation, the team you were looking for is Ubels Gaming.
Ubels! Oh, man. How could I confuse them with 4 friends and Krilly? Shame on you, Zayori.
I don't know. 4FC went 6-9, and they went 1-14. So, yeah, I don't know how you confused them either.
Bad baby. Oh, man. I screwed that one up. My bad. You know, you win some, you lose some. What are you going to do?
Happens.
So, all right. Oh, huh? No? Okay.
Huh? I said it happens.
Oh, it happens. Sorry. I just couldn't hear you over my own boisterous voice. So, all right, we've got another talking point here. El Clasico continues, guys. It's been a while since we've seen Na'Vi and Alliance face off in the finals of a tournament. The last few where we sort of thought that could be an option, MLG Columbus being one. Alliance didn't even make it into the top 4. Na'Vi not making it past the semifinals. And that big raid call EMS1 tournament we just saw over the past weekend. Same story, different chapter. Alliance and Na'Vi both getting knocked out in the semifinals, not moving on to the grand finals themselves. Overdue for an El Clasico, and we saw one yesterday in Star Ladder. Now, it was just a lowly best of 1. I know how much that doesn't matter, because anything can happen in a best of 1. We always go back to that. Yeah. It's fucking El Clasico, all right? We're going to talk about it. So here it is. I got the stats here. I got the Dat Dota. Now, fellas, did either of you fine gentlemen get the opportunity to check out that match yesterday and the lovely casting from myself and Mr. Merlini? Is that silence? Big negatory?
No.
Cricket chair.
No.
Cricket chair.
I watched it.
You did? Okay. All right. So it was an interesting game, actually. It was relatively one-sided. It went very quickly. And Alliance, of course, were the victors. And there are a few things I want to point out here about this draft and everything that they did. Alliance did run Alchemist, Venomancer, Night Stalker, Visage, and Doom. Na'Vi ran a very classic Na'Vi lineup: Enchantress, Luna, Puck, Rubik, and Wind Ranger. Now, when we saw this draft, Merlini and I were both like, well, obviously Alliance experimenting a little bit, a very non-Alliance draft, and Na'Vi, those are all pretty much signature heroes across the board. So we were a little bit nervous for Alliance, but their experiment worked. One thing that they've been doing as of late is this S4 solo mid Alchemist. They did it in the El Clasico matchup, and they did it in whatever the game was we saw Alliance play in after that match. And I'm trying to pull up my Star Ladder schedule so I can rattle it off here. Fnatic, that was it. Charlie, you're always a step ahead of me. So yeah, against Fnatic as well. And it worked well in both games, really. It was pretty much a success. I like that Alliance are experimenting outwards. One of the things that Merlini and I have been talking about is how Alliance has a very very predictable play style. You know, they're one of those teams that it's not about trying to figure out what they're going to do. You know what heroes they want. You know what they want to do. The problem is, how do you stop them? That crisp execution is where Alliance really starts to shine. And, you know, seeing Loda on Night Stalker, a slightly different take. He's sort of classically that kind of solo mid snowball-y type, and, you know, taking a slightly different approach. And then also in the game against Fnatic, we saw Loda on a position 1 Death Prophet. That kind of blew my mind when I first thought about it. And what even further blew my mind was that it worked against Fnatic. And again, they did the solo mid Alchemist in both games. Chris, Mr. Analysis Man, any thoughts about Alliance's said experimentation and the micro but still notable success over Fnatic and Na'Vi yesterday?
Well, Solomon Alchemist, I mean, it's good that I agree with you. It's really good that Alliance is getting something new. Solomon Alchemist isn't a new thing, and not even in this patch. Mushi, in particular, runs a really brutal Solomon Alchemist in this current version. He was very successful at Columbus with his Alchemist in most of the games, and has been successful in a lot of other games, too. And there's some other team that's been doing it a lot, but I can't remember specifically who it was. But I mean, in general, having a diverse hero pool is a pretty good thing. I mean, you saw... it was, I think, like a couple months before TI3, a lot of people were like, oh, you know, just ban out Bulldog's Lone Druid and his Bounty Hunter, and you win the game. And for a while, that's exactly what happened when people played up against Alliance. They had a really easy time if they took out the Bulldog heroes. And so he diversified his hero pool. And now, so people are starting to get a read on Alliance, you diversify your hero pool. I mean, if someone has a read on you to the point where you can't beat them anymore, you can't just keep doing the same thing and bash your head against the wall and hope it works.
Yep.
So I think it's exactly the right decision to make. And, you know, these are good environments to be doing it in. They're playing prelims. They can afford to drop a match or two, but there's still something on the line. It's not just a scrim where they're just going to, you know, oh, well, we're screwed. If we, or excuse me, oh, well, it doesn't matter if we lose this. It's just a scrim. You know, there is some value to getting the win, so they're gonna play their hardest.
Yep.
So I think it's a good place, a good time, and I think pretty much every team should be trying to broaden their pool as much as possible.
For sure. That's a good rule of thumb. And in the second game, I also forgot to mention, I do have it up here against Fnatic. They also picked Wisp. Maybe a deny pick, because that is one of Fnatic's 6.9 signature heroes, but still seeing EGM play Wisp in 6.79 was fun to watch. I really enjoyed seeing that. And you're exactly right about Alchemist solo mid is nothing new, nothing crazy. People have been doing that for a while. He works great. Acid Spray really helps to maintain that lane control, but a little bit new for S4. That's not one of, I wouldn't say that's one of his normal standard heroes. So it's just a nice change of pace for Alliance. And I'm honestly just excited to see Death Prophet with some success. Finally, teams finding a way to mix her in and find success, because I think she's a hero that at first glance people are like, she's still garbage. Forget about all those extra spirits. She's not really that viable and competitive. And, well, I don't know. I don't want to say, I don't want to call crap on that, but I'm glad Alliance pulled out a win with her yesterday over Fnatic. So it was an interesting day. Anyhow, Charlie, anything about Alliance and beating Na'Vi in a best of one?
No, I mean, it's a best of one. But I do want to add in some, I guess, Alliance analysis.
Please do.
From this is not from me. This is from an anonymous donor, and he says that the problem is not so much that Bulldog can't play more heroes, but that their supports are very used to the old polls, and they are a team that has taken a while to adjust having supports that don't have that extra farm goal.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, anonymous donor. I appreciate the insight. And that may be true.
Then you have Farm GM, who just picks Venomancer and then Ancient stacks for 20 minutes until he has gold, and then runs out and kills everybody. That is not unusual.
Also, I think one of the issues is that, like, it wasn't so much that they banned Bulldog heroes. It was just that, like, when you notice the games that Alliance lost at TI, it was where they started banning out the supports.
Well, no, I wasn't talking about the actual games at TI. That they had adjusted by the time they hit TI, but during the lead up, there were a bunch of interviews going around because it was between DreamHack, where they really kind of came out of the gates really strong. People were like, "Wow, who are these no Tidehunter guys?" And between TI3, there were a lot of people in interviews who said, okay, we need to ban these heroes. And Bulldog really did. He grabbed a couple of extra heroes he could play, which was all he really needed. And then they couldn't ban the Bulldog heroes. So well, crap, now what do we ban? They were like, ban that freaking Naga Siren. Yeah, he expanded it to Nature's Prophet. And if you can only ban 2 of them, they're going to get the 3rd. So ban the more important stuff, like the goddamn Naga Siren.
Yeah, I think that's true. And while we're on the topic of Alliance, I wanted to show this earlier when we were talking about Skeleton King and Frostivus, and it totally spaced. On Gamers did this really cute article about Skeleton King gone, and they got statements from a lot of popular folks around the Dota scene. And most of them were pretty humorous, but the one in particular that I absolutely loved was Admiral Bulldog, all caps, "If Valve removes Lone Druid, I will find Ice Frog and entangle his ass." That really, really made me laugh this morning. I literally spit out my Cheerios. That was one of the funniest things I've read in a while, because every time I see Admiral Bulldog, all I can think of is that all caps Reddit post, "No one can contain the Bulldog." That's what I said to him yesterday on BTS. That made me laugh, but Chris didn't giggle, so I guess he didn't find it funny. I was waiting for that boisterous hippie laugh.
Maybe I just didn't keep my mic.
Didn't come. All right.
You never know.
So, all right. We're rambling here. Chris, you wanna pound out Rod of Ados real quick here, and then we'll hop into our interview?
All right, Rod of Owie. Let's make this fast.
Let's do it.
So the primary thing about Rod of Owie, all right, so we have a 3,100 gold item. It's got some decent hit points on it. You have the 325. It's got the 25 intelligence, so you're getting a decent mana pool out of it. So you might say, oh, this is pretty okay for support if I have some money. Maybe there are a couple of the int carries who find it kind of useful because they kind of need an ability to chase people down. But what a lot of people will also say is, well, if you have that much money, why don't you save up the extra, 2,500 gold-ish and just buy a Hex? Because in a team fight, the impact of a Hex is just, it's infinitely better than the impact of a Cripple. I mean, I don't think anyone is going to disagree with me on that. It gives you almost as many hit points. Hex gives you the 190, gives you a little bit of armor, gives you more intelligence, gives you the mana regen. So obviously, overall, for more money, it is a better item. But there's a few key reasons why Atos can, in fact, be a good pickup. First of all, it's got about a third of a cooldown of the Hex. So 12 seconds as opposed to 35 seconds. You're going to get a whole lot more mileage out of it. The 4-second duration is actually longer. So it's got 33% uptime instead of less than 10%, or excuse me, instead of 10% uptime straight up. The slow range of 1,200 is massive. It's 400 units larger than the Hex, so you can get it from a longer range. So when you want to be considering, do I want to buy an Atos now for the impact, or do I want to buy a Scythe of Vice? Consider a couple key questions. First of all, say to yourself, is there a hero I need to have a Hex for, or we lose the game? Will we just lose team fights outright if we can't Hex this guy? If that's the case, save for the Hex. Are we getting into a lot more team fights than we are small skirmishes? Probably save for the Hex. On the other hand, if you're playing a hero who has good ganking potential or needs some help chasing, if you're moving in small groups and getting individual pickoffs, getting small skirmishes, then the Atos will probably be very effective. So in general, if you're earlier in the game and it's less team fight oriented, or if in general the game is just very kind of loose and teams aren't 5-manning a lot, the Atos can be really, really good. But, you end up in a team fight, and you end up, in that phase of the game where it's 5v5 and you spent money on an Atos and not a Scythe, you might end up kicking yourself.
A very well-rounded approach to the Rod of Owie, one of few pro players that does utilize the said Rod of Atos in any sort of regular fashion. I think that is a pretty appropriate vernacular for that cutie little item. But we see it every so often. Every time I see a casual vitality booster, I think to myself, could this be a time? Could this be it? No, of course not. Owie's not in this game. What was I thinking? That happens more often than not. So, all right,
Charlie.
guys. Oh, huh?
I was quickly going to ask Charlie, because he's close to Owie. Do you have any of Owie's personal opinions on the Rod of Owie?
I mean, he loves the item. He has an unhealthy love for that item. But he has said it's in a way, it's a bit of a win more item. If you're winning, or if you have a lead and you need to capitalize it, it's great for picking people off, or catching someone that's out of position or something. Or if you lack a lot of long range initiation and you need to get that slow off, it's great for that. But it's a little bit of a win more item. It's most of the time it's not going to change the outcome of the game. Yeah, it's not a Hex, it's not a BKB. It's it's a really long range slow.
Yep.
That's about it.
Yep. So, all right, that does wrap up the first part of today's episode number 20 of the Dota Radio Morning Show. When we come back, I'm going to have the one and only Dota Land creator joining us. Autumn Wind's going to be on in just a moment, folks. Don't go anywhere. Dota Radio Morning Show continues in just a moment.